Today we're going to be working with 3 of these Dollar Tree frames, and I'm going to start by removing the backing from these, and each one of these has a MDF insert, and these can actually be used as little chalkboards too, and I absolutely love these frames. I haven't seen them at my Dollar Tree in over a year, and when I found one box, you bet I bought the entire thing. These are just so fun to work with, and they're beautiful and all the lovely ornate designs. And they don't come with glass, which is perfect because I often don't use the glass in any of my projects. That little toolkit you see off to the side, you can find those at Dollar Tree, and they're perfect for small screws. So I'm going to set those off to the side for now, and I'm going to lightly rough up the frames using a scuff pad, and then I'll take a microfiber rag and wipe away any of the debris. And then give each one a coat of Pinktor's 2-in-1 Premium Primer in white. And this is going to seal the surface, help our paint adhere, and give us a really nice base to work with. And then I'll let those dry for about an hour. If you can't find these frames at your local Dollar Tree, run over to Dollar General. They often have these beautiful ornate frames. I think they may be made of resin. I'm not entirely sure. They are rather sturdy and absolutely beautiful. They're $5 more expensive, but easier to find. While those are drying, I have my 3 MDF inserts, and I'm going to give the front and the back 3 coats of Pinktor's Buttercream chalk paint. And this paint dries really quickly, so I can easily speed things up using my embossing gun. This chalk paint goes on so smooth. It's a beautiful chalk paint in my opinion. In hindsight, I probably should have primed these too. MDF really soaks up chalk paint, which is why it took 3 coats to get good coverage. Just be sure to paint both the front and the back, and this is going to help prevent any warping. Now for the fun part, I have these beautiful rice papers that I purchased on Etsy. I'll see if I can find the original listing for you because they're absolutely beautiful. I love these. I've already used the design in the lower left-hand corner on another project, and it sold rather quickly during one of my Whatnot shows. Artwork has been doing so well, so my goal right now is to create way more of it. These papers are by Milky Valley, and I'll also leave the design number on the screen here if you'd like to search for them yourself. Today we're going to be using 2 of these designs, and one of them is a 5x7, which is going to fit perfectly into this frame here. And I'm using black chalk paint from the Dollar General. It's only $3, and I'm going to really work it down into all those beautiful details, and this gives such great coverage. This is my absolute favorite black chalk paint. And for the second frame, I'm painting it Admiral blue. I started with this one brush but wasn't loving how it was applying the paint, so I switched to this Linzer brush that I picked up at my local hardware store. I completely forgot that I had it, and it made such a difference and gave me a more smoother finish. I will definitely be purchasing more of these, but I'm mostly stippling this on and just getting some lovely texture with this. And I do end up giving these all 2 coats. And this is a chalk paint. I'm a bit obsessed with this one at the moment. I just want to paint everything in this beautiful blue. Then for the third frame, I'm using Couture's mineral paint in the color Vera at the Ballet. It's such a beautiful, soft blush pink. And this mineral paint doesn't require a top coat, but I still like to seal in all of my painted pieces. It's just a personal preference, and it gives me a little extra peace of mind. Now it's time to start decoupaging, and we're going to begin with our 5x7. I'm going to position her right where I want her, making sure that she's nice and centered. I'm not going to trim anything just yet because I want to get her adhered first. I have Kacha's Gilding glue, and that's going to be our medium for this one. I have my fan brush, and I'm going to apply a generous coat of the Gilding glue right onto the MDF board, and then I'll just place my rice paper right into that medium and gently smooth everything out with my fingers before setting it aside to dry. Just be careful when you're smoothing it out. Our fingertips are naturally a little rough and can tear those delicate fibers, and it really depends on what you're working with. I think rice paper is much more forgiving than mulberry paper or tissue paper napkins, which can tear pretty easily. And you do have a little bit more time before the glue really grabs. So if you need to reposition your paper, you can absolutely do that. And you can also use a little bit of water to help relax the fibers and smooth everything out. But with rice paper, I don't really find that necessary. It's honestly my favorite paper to work with because it's just so forgiving. Now for our second one, I'm using the water method. I'm going to tear away the excess paper this way. I love that organic, natural look. And for our next step, we definitely don't want to see any lines peeking through. And I'm using Fusion's Decoupage and Transfer Gel. At first, I thought about applying it directly to the back of the rice paper, but then I remembered we're going over chalk paint, and I don't want to risk reactivating that finish. So instead, I'm applying the gel over the entire thing and just smoothing out any bubbles. I didn't like this little piece, so I tore that off. And then I noticed one of the fibers was sticking up the top here in the left, see right here. And instead of pulling on it, I just trimmed it away. I've pulled on those long fibers before and it's ruined up my paper. So it's just safer to just cut it off. Then for my third, I grabbed this beautiful script stamp that came from Hobby Lobby. I've had it for a long time and they do still have it. I have IOD Stone Gray Ink, and I'm going to stamp across the top and the bottom of the panel. I'm not worried about the center because that's going to be covered in our next layer. Just be sure that you clean your stamp and wipe away any excess because it will transfer over on your design. And then when you're done, of course, you want to make sure that you clean your stamp real well. You want it to last you for years and years. And so keeping one hand on the stamp at all times and using the other one to burnish. I use my embossing gun to heat set that ink. And now I have this gorgeous transfer. It's called Madeline, and this is from IOD's 2026 spring release. And it's filled with beautiful birds and florals. I'm using this transfer tool. It's called a transfer stick, and I'm going to slowly rub the design onto the surface and lift back on that transfer vellum as I go. And of course, I have this sped up really fast. It's a little bit timely to get these transfers over. And, you know, your time is precious to me and I don't want to waste it. And then take that transfer vellum and then burnish your transfer into your design. These gilded transfers are by IOD and the set is called Cybele. I absolutely love this collection because it's like having an entire library of decorative gold accents that you can use over and over again. The designs repeat throughout the whole book, which means you can get so much use out of it. My favorite pieces are the corners. They fit the frames beautifully and instantly make them look so elegant. And while I'm working, I want to tell you about this collaboration. This is one that I co host with my friend Yetta from Craft Along with Jay. We do this monthly and we challenge ourselves to create beautiful projects using affordable finds from places like Dollar Tree, thrift stores, items we already have in our stash. And for this month, we wanted to have a guest host. So Yetta reached out to Loli from Loli D's Creations, and she was happy to join us. Be sure to check out Loli. She is so talented. And thank you, Loli, for joining us. We're so glad to have you. All right, so you'll know when your gilded transfer has fully adhered when the backing sheet turns nice and clear where the design was. If you notice any spots that didn't transfer over, just line the sheet back up and rub over that area again. It should transfer right over nicely. And finally, I'm sealing it in with Paint Couture's Extreme Guard with the satin finish. This protects all of our layers and leaves behind a soft satin sheen. This one is my favorite. I know IOD can seem a little high, but you get so much use out of these that they really pay for themselves over time. And so I consider these very much budget friendly. I'm going to let that dry, and our lovely lady for the 5x7 is completely dry now. I'm using my finger sander to gently remove the excess rice paper around the edges, and then I'll seal everything in with another coat of that Pink Couture's Extreme Guard satin finish. Now for our second lady, I'm going to be a little brave and continue the design beyond the rice paper. Those organic torn edges that I mentioned earlier are really going to help blend everything together. I'm using several colors for this. I have Buttercream, which is the paint that we used on the background, Pumpkin and Celery. Those are by Waverly. And then that same black chalk paint from the Dollar General. I'm going to just start by blending and adding paint, stepping back a second, blending some more, and so just slowly building up the background. I've only tried this technique one other time, and honestly, it was a complete fail. But I've watched a lot of artists do this, and one tip that I kept hearing was not to rinse your brush in between colors. That leftover paint actually helps create softer transitions. The only time I rinse mine is when I'm switching from a lighter color to colors like black. If you've never tried this before, please don't let it intimidate you. It's really not that difficult. It just takes a lot of patience. I'm also using a damp paper towel to soften the paint and blend everything together. For the red, I'm using Fusion's Highlander. It's a beautiful barn red. I'll add some water to water the paint down, which I'm doing with all the others. It kind of behaves like a watercolor, and then build the color back up where I want more depth. And then to deepen the shadows even more, I'm using Paint Couture's Pine Cone. And again, I'm watering it down, blending and dabbing, and slowly extending her dress while working back and forth between the black, the red, and a touch of orange. I won't lie, I held my breath more than once while doing this. I kept reminding myself that if I messed up, it's not the end of the world, that I have another print and I can always start over. That little quote kept playing in my head. But what if you fail? But what if you don't? And sometimes you just have to trust yourself and keep going. And that's exactly what I did. And I decided to bring the red that I used in her dress up to her headband. And when I incorporated that brown, I think that's when I started to see things really start coming together. Once I started swirling my brush, I could finally take a deep breath. Everything began to soften and blend together. And that's when I knew it was all coming together beautifully. Now that she's dry, I'm going to seal her in with Pinktor's Dead Flat Sealer, and this is going to seal in our paint before our next step. Our top coat is dry. Now I'm reaching for my heavy body gel. I want this piece to look like an oil painting, and this product does an amazing job creating that illusion. Heavy body gel by Pinktor is really versatile. It's commonly used to create dimension, especially through stencils, but you can also tint it, paint over it, or use it to add texture like we're doing today. Off camera, I had actually applied it to the necklace of my 5x7 piece, and I'm so sorry I missed filming that part. But for this portrait, I'm covering the entire piece with a nice even coat. Then, while it's still wet, I'm going to go back over it in a crosshatch motion with my brush, and this builds up a subtle texture and gives the piece that beautiful, realistic oil painting. One little tip before putting the lid back on your heavy body gel: wipe the rim clean and add just a tiny bit of lubricant. I have Vaseline here, and add that around the edge. If any of the heavy body gel dries on the threads, that lid isn't, it's not going to come off. It's next to impossible to get it back open. And that's another reason why I love this project, because it's an incredibly strong adhesive. I use it all the time for attaching metal embellishments or other dimensional pieces. Once it's cured, it's a permanent bond. So when you use it, make sure you're happy with the placement, because it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it takes hours for it to dry, but still, I mean, if you wake up the next day and you don't like where it is, you're not going to get it off. All right, so back to our blue frame. We're sealing that in with some more of that dead flat, and we're going to do this to all 3 frames. This next technique looks beautiful over black. I'm using Pinktor's Pigment Fix along with their metal pigment. I don't think there's a exact mixing ratio, so I just mix it intuitively until it looks right. And before I close up my pigment fix, I'm adding a little bit of Vaseline around the rim again. Trust me, it makes opening it up next time just so much easier. The consistency to this is almost like a rich cream, and once it's mixed together, it's incredibly smooth, no lumps, no air bubbles, just beautiful silkiness that is just so easy to apply. It glides right on. It's like applying liquid gold, and all you need is just one coat. This came in my most recent subscription box from Tina Ora at Rehatch Designs. She absolutely loves this product. And one thing that I really appreciate about her boxes is that she includes products that she genuinely uses in her own projects. If you've watched her videos, you've probably seen this make an appearance more than once. And one small tip, only mix up a small amount at a time, because once it's mixed, it's going to harden and you can't save it for later. So a little bit really goes a long way. And if I didn't mention already, I just love how this gold looks over the black. It's just so rich and elegant. And this dries rather quickly, so you can keep working. So I'm going to go over that frame and this blue one, both with Pinktor's Van Dyke Brown Antiquing Glaze. And this one is my favorite glaze because it's so rich and deep. And I'm going to work in small sections, just applying it here with my paintbrush and wiping some back with this paper towel. I'm also going to do some dabbing to create some texture. But one thing to keep in mind when you're working with this glaze, take your time and really buff it out, work it into all those little details, and be sure to remove any fingerprints, because whatever you leave behind is exactly how it will dry. So just pay attention to that. And this glaze also acts like a sealer. So technically you don't need to seal it beforehand. But as I mentioned earlier, I like that extra layer of protection. And it also gives me a little more freedom to play with the glaze without worrying about disturbing the natural paint underneath. And this is how it's looking so far. I just love that deep richness. It's one of my favorite things. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one as I mentioned. I think that looks so pretty. For my pink one, I'm using Pinktor's new whitewash antiquing glaze. I've been so excited to try this product. I'm applying it the same way as before, but this time I'm using a sponge to wipe back and dab back instead of a cloth or paper towel. I thought it would create a little more texture, and I really love how this turned out. I'm just going to continue working my way around the entire frame. And it did create a little bit more texture, but it's not really that noticeable. And that's it for our 3 frames today. I absolutely love how each one turned out, and I would love to know which one is your favorite. So let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out the full playlist and see what everyone else has created. And once again, thank you, Loli from Loli D's Creations, for being our guest host this month. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. Oh, and a quick note, I will have these items for sale tonight in my Whatnot show. It's Nikki, Touched by Time, so come over and see me. And if you are from my YouTube channel, I would love it if you just let me know. I'll be live at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to hype me up though. It really helps push my video out into the algorithm so more people see my videos. As always, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Until the next one, bye.